Hi, welcome back to the second part of tonight's show. Where John, Dave, and myself are going to preview all of the Pro 12 matches over Christmas. So boys, we take on Munster down in Thomond Park. We're going for our fourth win in a row.
I think when you say we take on Munster, it should be we brackets question mark, because we've no idea who we're going to have available for that game.
True enough.
We've no idea who anyone's going to have available for that game, ourselves or Munster. It's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm always every Christmas there's always this thing about, and we can never seem to remember what happened the previous year and how
I can't because I looked it up. Last year we did have the players. We did have internationals because there were no autumn internationals because of the World Cup. So it was the season was was very skewed.
Different
but 2
structure.
and 3 years ago and 4 years ago we had no internationals, or 2 and 3 years ago we had no internationals.
I'd say we might have the non-starting.
Although we did have a lot of guys who are now internationals, they weren't internationals at the time.
That's true. We might have the bench guys, you know, the guys who were in the 23,
Healy,
maybe,
Cronin,
and the guys who were and the guys who were in the squad for the Six Nations, but not necessarily the first 15. It would be my guess. Unfortunately, we've got rather a lot of those first 15 guys, but, and we won't see Sexto or Rob Kearney. So there's a few for sure's.
Or Dave Kearney.
Had
to have an operation.
Or Fergus McFadden. So we're nosing down through the. I'd hope to have a strong bench, but the best you can do. You might get the odd. You might get one or two surprises. You might get a Heaslip or somebody. But the general thoughts on it from a coaching perspective seem to be win your home game, take a chance on your away game. Play your and Munster are specifically the way the games fall. There's very short turnarounds between all the three games, and Munster are actually playing Racing something like the 6th or 7th of January.
Yeah.
So they've got 3 games, including that one, over a 12-day period or something. So they've 2 short turnarounds. So they're more likely to play the guys this week against us, give them a rest, and then have them.
It depends on who's released too. I mean, Munster also have an awful lot of non-Irish players anyway to call upon. So
we have 3 foreigners in our.
Yeah, I mean, well,
and then Gibson-Price.
they've got Taute, Klein, Marshall, Griesel is in the squad now. Saili is still injured, so they've those guys. Blendell he's not qualified yet, so they've those guys that give a good structure to the team.
We've just got Issa and Zane.
Issa and Zane. And Triggs.
Yeah. That's it.
And Gibson Park.
Yeah.
We kind of touched on it just before in the first part about not really backing ourselves as regards the league and the disparity between the different leagues and so on. Like this match is first against second. There's 26,300 tickets sold. It's going to be probably the biggest attended match over Christmas in Europe for a rugby match. Yet I understand the reasons why, that there's going to be a weakened team. But if that's the case, like we know that there's going to be an international get together in Carton House. Surely the Pro 12 should sit down with the constituent parts of it and say, this is our blue ribbon event of the league. And just like I know that they're kind of a bit hamstrung with the, say, Edinburgh against Glasgow because there's only 2 teams in Scotland and they do like to keep these derby matches. They have
local, like Christmas,
but there's 4 teams in Ireland, so there's 3 different derby. But my point being that there are other possibilities to play this particular fixture, Leinster Munster, that are like if you played this before the quarter final of the European Cup, let's say, then you've got your full pack to your full teams to your full squads to choose from.
I think the Leinster Munster game should generally be played the week before the first round of European games,
as was the case in October.
Yeah, which is its traditional split, and the week before the quarter-final games.
Yeah, which was also one of its traditional.
And you can still have derbies because you can have both of them playing the other two.
Having said that, and taking what you say into account, that these games are, if you like, showcase games because they're over the holiday period. That's true, but on the other side of that is the way that, to a certain extent, the damage is lessened by, say, Munster versus Leinster. Because at the end of the day, as long as the teams are treated evenly in terms of availability of players, Leinster fans, Munster fans, and those watching in Ireland just want the two sides to rip the head off one another, kind of thing, you know. So the presence of the Stars, while it affects the UK audience, if you like, it's not really that effective of the Irish audience.
But it would though, Dave, because you've got Irish people who mightn't necessarily be a Leinster fan, or even if they're from Leinster, they mightn't necessarily be a big rugby fan. But, you know, they're sitting in with their families on Stevens's Day.
I suppose they want to see Ringrose or whatever.
And they kind of are, and, you know, I mean, I used to work with a guy, and the first question was, did you wait the Leinster match? Next question was O'Driscoll play? And if the answer was yes, his ears pricked up. If he wasn't, then that kind of told him, Mickey Mouse Pro 12 or Celtic League as it was at the time, didn't give a monkeys. And I suspect that a similar attitude still exists for us, for the non-season ticket holders or fanatical Leinster or rugby fans.
I think from a perspective of marketing the league, it doesn't work. But from a perspective of actually strengthening the league and having teams, okay, we say if we assume that the World Cup year creates a blip like last year, and that this year or the year before last is closer to where the Pro 12 is thereabouts.
Yeah.
Then games like this, where you have teams with relatively not unknown but untried players, these are the games that drive next year's European matches. Because these are the games where, I mean, it was in this game a couple of years, like Gary Ringrose made that break. That was the game where he made his name. Yeah. Or the game against Ulster, Sean O'Brien really came to the fore in a game against Ulster, if you remember, where he played number 8. Yeah. And it's games like these where you have slightly understrength teams, where younger players, not necessarily young, not necessarily unknown, but younger players can really step up in a top level, maybe not a top level in terms of the players, but a top level fixture, and you can see that what their character is like.
Yeah, however, if you did what Jason said and moved you would still sell out Ravenhill for Munster versus Ulster. You would still sell out the RDS for Connacht, Leinster versus Connacht. You'd still sell out Thomond Park.
Well, I think it's noticeable that this is the first time that Thomond Park's actually been sold out for a Leinster versus Munster game in maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, but also this isn't to do with Leinster. This is to do with Munster and the resurgence.
Yeah.
Like that's what, you know what I mean. Like like last season, Leinster went down there and played. I remember going down a couple of years ago myself, and there was massive gaps. Like if there was 20,000 at it,
should have had the North and South Terrace closed the last few times I was there. Nobody on them, just a big banner across them.
So like it's people are going because there's they've started winning again. There's the Anthony Foley thing, of course, is but you know, they beat Leicester, they hammered Leicester Tigers. They almost beat them in Welford Road, which is no mean achievement.
Well, they've a chance of beating us, so they're gonna sell more tickets. Yeah. Like if they reckon they've no hope, then all the guys you're talking about who ask you was O'Driscoll playing, all those type of guys in Munster are not going to show up if the perception is we're going to get a hiding here, or we're be very unlikely to win.
And the thing is, it's a very, very hard game to analyse, because at this stage we have no idea who's available. I mean, okay, when this goes out on Thursday, for all we know, the teams may well be named. But we've no idea who's going to play, who's going to be available, who's going to be released. For all we know, nobody could be released. Or for all we know, everyone could be released. And you could have 2 full-strength teams having at it. Don't think that's going to happen. You never know.
I'd say with the strength of depth in Leinster at the moment, I'd say they might blend the 2 games rather than going for all the big guns for Ulster and all the lesser guns for Munster. I'd say they might do a bit of a switcheroony and rest guys in both games.
They might want to. It won't be their say.
It may or may not be their say.
It won't be their say.
But I remember a few years ago, that match actually you mentioned there about Sean O'Brien scoring up in Ulster. I remember being up at that, and I think it was O'Driscoll and maybe Mackin played in that match. I can't remember. And in the following match it was Darcy and another that was kind of the supposed replacement for these guys when they did eventually retire. But I'm not sure whether like there's a lot of youth still in our team. If you look at the selection the other night,
even our first team,
like our first team, there's a lot of guys injured, but and the guys that are coming in while they're playing superb. If Adam Byrne, for instance, plays, you're going to go, geez, it's only his 8th or 9th game.
Here's the thing: if Adam Byrne plays, Adam Byrne has to play. I mean,
We're
it's as simple as that.
options.
Because we'll have Ross Byrne at out half. I mean, if we say it's the international unavailable, we'll have Ross Byrne at out half. We'll have Reid and O'Loughlin in the centres. We'll have Adam Byrne and Natiwa on the wings, and Kirshner at full back, and that's it. Those are our backs. There are no other backs available.
A whole lot of free backs. Yeah.
The next guys are Jordan Larmour, Billy Dardis, Tom Daly. That's it.
Yeah, well, they'll be on the bench.
Yeah, I mean that's where we're at the moment. It's just between a combination of injuries, international withdrawals. That's where we're at.
You made a salient point, just saying that the amount of foreigners that are currently on the books in Munster, which won't be clearly constrained, or restricted to their selection. So on paper, you got a fancy Munster in that game.
And they're allegedly chasing Ben Smith for next year.
And JJ Hanrahan.
What's going on there? And James Hart.
They got Farrell. They're welcome to Hart. They've got Chris Farrell for next year.
Yeah.
That's apparently deal done. Like not even they're chasing him. It's signed and sealed. They're chasing Ben Smith the same way as we're chasing Israel Dag. We see what happens. The paper never refused ink when these names are mentioned.
True.
But they'll have a strong team because they've a lot of good players who are just below international level, who get called up for Canada level. Maybe not available. Maybe not Six Nations, but maybe in a year's time.
We'll say Ryan, for instance, their prop.
I was going to suggest their front row, for example, will be at that level. So they'll have a very strong front row. I think we'll have a strong front row ourselves, though. I mean, we're
our second choice front row is bloody awesome.
Our third choice front row is pretty awesome. We're a bit skinny on the tight head side, which is something one never says about props, but we are. But I mean, even worst case scenario, we put out Dooley, Tracy, and Best, or not Best, Bent. That's a very good front row.
I wouldn't have any fears really.
It's the backups though. I mean, those guys are going to come off at 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of be getting a bit thin then.
Yeah.
I wonder will we see an experiment of Andrew Porter, the tight end?
Not in this game.
I think that he'll go back to UCD or
that'll be something that'll be done over the. You won't see that this season, or you won't see it in the Pro 12 this season. I think it could work though. I think he could be.
But I think for his own sake, because the two guys or three guys that are ahead of him currently aren't going anywhere soon. No, you'd imagine. Two of them might be going to the Lions tour. That's the only thing.
Well, I think it could be an opportunity for him.
He'd have a string in his bow in terms of. Like Bent being able to play both sides,
those guys write their own checks.
So
remember there was the scandal. Stan Wright was actually the best paid player in the Leinster team. It emerged because
Probably can play both sides.
Probably can play both sides,
equally well.
Yeah.
So that'd be a great feather in the cap for a guy like Porter. It'd make him. It personally would make him a very valuable player, no matter who he wanted to play for, or what country he wanted to play his trade in. And for Leinster, if he was to stay with Leinster, he'd be.
But it's not going to happen on St. Stephen's Day anyway.
No.
But we have strength. I mean, you have to believe in the guys you have. I mean, we have strength in a lot of positions. The only question isn't the guys that we can put on the pitch. It's not the 15. The 15 will be strong, no matter who is in it. Whether strong enough to beat Munster or not is another thing, but it'll be a strong 15. The problem is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
I'd say the last three you said there would be the problem.
That's where the weakness
is. We're literally running out of bodies.
The other Irish derby is Ulster take on Connacht, and this is a fixture that generally Connacht do not win.
1963.
Yeah.
That is 54 years
next year. First time for everything.
There is.
They have to do it sometime.
Yeah.
Ulster aren't in a great place at the moment.
No.
They're a bit manic. They're up and they're down. You never know if they're going to be good or they're going to be crap. It kind of could go down. Could go in there and just run the legs off them.
Larrup them.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Connacht win in Ravenhill just because they haven't.
Just to break the record.
Just to break the record.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it'd be a great thing to see. I mean, 1963 is a long time in anyone's book.
Yeah.
and you know, how amateur era finished in 1995.
Finished properly in Ireland in 1999.
Finished properly in Ireland in 1999. Like, that's 30 years after they won in Ravenhill, you know, and they still haven't won in Ravenhill 20 years later. So, you know, it's.
I'm gonna go with Connacht to win that one.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Like, we can kind of just say the exact same thing for this match as we did for the. We don't know what players are going to be available.
No.
Connacht might be a bit more insured again because
But
they
they
do have a significant number of foreign players themselves.
Yeah, but
They're
they have
huge
19
crisis.
injuries.
Injury crisis.
They have a lot of guys. They're in a similar position to Munster in a way. They have a lot of guys who'd be in if Ireland were playing Canada. These guys would be unavailable. But you know, they're just slightly below the international squad at the moment. So those guys might be available to them if they're fit.
Well, the other thing is they've Munster up the following week, and they'll smell blood in the water there because Munster will be resting their international.
Well, for the match against Wasps, they had 9 fit backs in the squad.
Yeah.
And again, I just heard on the radio they were talking about it. They said that they pick up another couple of knocks during training before the Wasps match, and Pat Lam blew the whistle and said, "Actually, back in, we're going to have a shower now because we don't want to risk only having 8 backs available."
They have a strong backline. I mean, considering, I mean, Carty, they won't have Marmion. I don't think they'll have Marmion. But Quailon Blade is a super player. I think. I think he might be. I think he might be the next Irish. I think he might even jump Marmion.
No, I think Marmion's there.
No, but I think he might eventually. I'm not saying
possibly,
that.
possibly.
They'll have Carty. They'll have Bundyaki, Rory Parata.
Cooney fit still?
John Cooney?
Yeah. Or is he out?
Hasn't he left Connacht?
Not yet.
Oh, he hasn't left. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's rumoured to be going to Ulster next season, but
anyway,
he was back playing a few weeks
well,
ago.
they've John Cooney as well, and they've Rory Parata, they've Danny Poolman. They won't have Tiernan Halloran. I think he's made it. I think he's playing with the big boys now.
He might have to step in for Rob Kearney with the Ireland training.
They have Stacey Ely.
I think all these guys are injured.
Who's she?
Oh, you're a funny man. Fox Nepia Matamu, he's injured, isn't he?
Don't know.
He played against them.
He did play, yeah.
Did he play? They've the new back row forward, Dawai.
Who scored their try?
He scored that try, yeah. It was only registered during the week, so that was timely.
Yeah.
They have strength. They have some strength. I mean, they're going to be without obviously Delan. Do you remember when we were talking last week about where the money in rugby is for playing international rugby?
Yeah.
And I was in the cinema. I went to see the new Star Wars movie, and there was an ad for Intersport. And who pops up at the end doing the punchline? Bundyaki. Now that's a national cinema campaign and that's because he's playing in Ireland and he's part of the Irish system. He doesn't get that in France.
No, he was this very small fish in a big pool in France, and unless he was playing for France, and probably even if he had 50 All Blacks caps, he still wouldn't be he'd be a nobody unless they had a specific campaign in the town of the team that he was playing in.
That's a premium ad in one of the because it was in the Odeon one, the big cinema, in one of the premium cinemas before the current blockbuster movie. That's the level he's at in Ireland if he stays in Ireland.
But it was like the ad for laser treatment, and they had Dougie Howlett doing it.
Yeah. Well, he may be capped this time next year.
Yeah.
If he's still around.
Maybe.
Well, I'm sure he will be. Anyway,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So there's obviously all of the other countries have their own derbies, but one just jumps out. It's fourth against third. It's Ospreys against Scarlets.
Oh, it's a good one.
And well, I'm just bound to be
Jackson,
a few
they love each other.
A few digs.
Right.
How
many cards?
I think there could be 1 red and 2 yellows.
Yeah, that sounds quite conservative, actually.
I think the Ospreys will win because I don't even know if they're home and away.
It's in Clonetly.
Well,
no, sorry, it's not. It's in Ospreys. It's Swansea.
Oh, well, they'll definitely win Australia.
Oh no, you have to give credit to Scarlets beating
That's
Geelong.
exactly why I think they're going to win. Scarlets.
They might be living off that, do you reckon?
No,
or knackered.
Might be a little bit mentally tired out.
Well, they celebrate as though they won the European Cup.
Well, bloody fair play to them. Like they're a little. Clonetly is a town of 45,000 people. The stadium holds 1/3 of the population of the town, which they have a bigger region allegedly, but they're basically.
I wouldn't say there's much more population, because
it's a very
It's
sparse.
mostly valleys.
Yeah,
it's a very
quite sparse.
Valleys are
Roaming horde
further east
of Welshmen sing
there's
loose.
more sheep than
Sing
there
close,
are people.
sing close harmonies.
But that is a huge achievement. Beating Toulon. I don't care how disinterested Toulon were, and I don't believe they were that disinterested either. But them winning that game by a point was a massive achievement.
With
the
Tyburn
squad they
formerly
have,
of this
with
parish.
Tyburn at 6, with that's boys' own stuff, like them winning that. So I think they'll be a little bit complacent because of that, or they'll be complacent is the wrong word, but they'll
Hungover.
Hungover. That's exactly the word.
Whether literally or emotionally.
Yeah.
I also think that Ospreys are a really good side again.
They are.
They had a little bit of a dip and they've rebuilt and they're building themselves up again.
They've been sharpening their chops in the lesser European competition.
I mean, it's never been a problem. Getting themselves up for matches or their own self-image has never been a problem for Ospreys.
Yeah, well, they don't like the Turks.
No, they do not
The
like the
one-eyed
Turks.
Turks. They like giving them a good doing, especially in the Liberty Stadium. So it's the distance between those two, between Llanelli
20
and
miles.
Swansea, is 20 miles. Like,
A couple of stops on the train line.
It's literally you'd walk it. Cardiff and Newport is closer, but you'd certainly walk it in a day.
Oh yeah.
And the rivalry is fairly palpable. They just don't like each other.
The other big game, I suppose, is Glasgow.
1872
taking on-
Cup.
Yeah.
So named for the last time a Scotsman opened his wallet.
I was over at the Leinster Glasgow match earlier on this year, and I was talking to a guy about it. They had to play both matches in Edinburgh last year because
That's right, yeah.
the poor quality of the pitch in Glasgow.
Edinburgh-
And what they did was,
Edinburgh
even
won
though the
both.
stadium holds 69,500 people, they limited it to the number of people of the capacity of the Glasgow stadium,
right, yeah.
and they would only as you do, and they would only allow
You don't like money. Oh,
they would
wait,
only allow
hold on.
6,500 or 7,000, whatever the capacity is, into the ground, so that they wouldn't give a perceived advantage to Edinburgh by having more of their own home fans at the game. Which I just was. The man was telling me this. I was expecting his nose to get bigger because I wasn't believing him, and his mate was saying, "Yeah, it's great. It was great."
You're expecting the punchline and there wasn't one.
I
The
couldn't believe
punchline
it.
is Scots are a bit thick sometimes.
Well, I just again it
But
just
they're very provincial
But
sometimes.
it just goes back to not marketing. Like, surely to God, if you can get 30,000 people in Murrayfield, I'm not saying that would have turned up, but, market it, sell the tickets for a £5, get 30,000 people in to watch the biggest rugby match between two Scottish clubs. Nah, we just limited to 6,500 in a 67,000 seater stadium.
Well, it's the next game that Edinburgh are moving.
Yeah.
To Merseyside, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the beginning of January. So this will be the last hurrah for Murrayfield for a while, I think. Might play their big games in it.
The last regular season, as it were, game there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So give it a
I
good
hope it
send
works well
off.
for them. It's actually never that bad a game, this game. I always enjoy it. I always watch it.
They knock lumps out of each other, all right. Yeah. Derbies are good for that.
Yeah, they're great for that.
It's like the European Cup, the back-to-backs, because they've only got 2
weeks.
teams in Scotland that they
Yeah.
play each other again. I
Conor
think they play
O'Shea
on
will
Stephen's
be
Day and New Year's Day.
An interested spectator in the the 2 Italian games.
You can have a stand to itself.
You might do, yeah. Both of those grounds are small as well.
Yeah.
And there's
Actually,
always,
the one in Treviso isn't too small. It probably holds about 7,000 or 8,000. There's 2 big stands in it.
Yeah.
Like they're actually. I was over there once for a Leinster match, and they are actually.
name one other club in the league that has that kind of capacity. Glasgow are close enough, but outside of Connacht, not much more. But outside of that, everybody's got more in their stadium than that. So it's,
Yeah, but if it's full, I wouldn't like. There's not many of the Welsh clubs get into 5 figures.
I'd
Like
say
what's
most-
true. And
I'd say one of the Welsh
attendance
clubs
is
is
another
live
thing,
in Treviso.
there's the one in Swansea probably holds 25, 30,000.
20,000.
That's more than as a Premiership stadium.
20,000.
20,000. Okay. Well, I would say it has never been full for a rugby match.
Ospreys have never troubled that.
Rarely, yeah. It has actually. I think it's been sold out once or twice for a big European game, but yeah, it's very rare.
Okay.
I'd say the football boys probably sell it out regularly.
Of course, the Premiership games are always sold out there.
Yeah.
Even if they're not going that well. But yeah, Italy, the Italian derby is an interesting one. I've never. I might actually download that one and watch it.
It's on Eurosport now.
Well, it's on one of the Eurosports. It's
Right.
about 200 of them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You're going to have to switch
I-
off the
I'd find
gymnastics or the gymkhana from
At
somewhere.
the moment, it's all winter sports. So it's all biathlons and triathlons,
Downhill
and
skiing from
Oh,
Kitzbühel.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, anyway, boys,
Falling with style.
quick prediction for going back to the Leinster-Munster match. A quick prediction for me.
I'd say
It's
losing
too-
bonus point for Leinster,
It's too
depending
close
on
to
the
call.
on
It
the
depends on the
teams.
selection. It's too close to call. If you could see either team winning and either team picking up a losing
Well, of
bonus point
course.
from that, because it's very, very close.
But the selection is the key.
The selection is key. It'll be interesting because Munster have been going very, very well. They've had a little bit of a knockback then last week.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they push on from that.
It was their first
Game they've lost.
first defeat since
Yeah.
Foley died, yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how they bounce back from that one.
Mhm.
But you would imagine that they'll do enough to win, unless we're given a rake of stars.
But the other side of that is actually we're really good.
We are actually really good. Yeah, I've noticed
You know,
that about us.
and we didn't exactly have to kill ourselves to beat them in the Aviva.
No, but they were in a bit more.
Well, we had a
place.
much, and also we had a much stronger team
Yeah,
out
yeah.
that day.
But I mean, like we were saying about the league, we should believe. I mean, I'm not saying we will win. I'm not saying Munster will, but I'm saying that whatever Leinster team will be out, will actually be very good at rugby.
Yes.
So it could go either way.
Hopefully,
I
well.
hope it goes ours.
Yes.
Okay, boys. As ever, thanks a million, and thanks very much for watching. Cheers.